I'm Thomas Bailey from Room 11 Architects. This project we're presenting two today, but Triptych is three projects in one location. And I'm going to skip through, well, I can show you here. So we have, this is the main house. We have the Pulmonum down here, which is that tiny little dot, and a glass house, which is a sort of pavilion retreat from the main house. I'm showing an axial relationship here. One of the key things that we had with a very open brief from a very understanding client was the opportunity to site the building pretty much anywhere within this envelope, or here, the site runs right up here. So it was a very open brief, and Kate, my co-director, and I spent time on this site, and naturally this was the arrival point, but we spent a lot of time working out where the aspect and appreciation from the site was at its greatest point, its high point, both in the horizontal plane and vertically. Essentially, and interestingly enough, as often happens, that place appeared to be quite close to the natural entry point to the site. And once we'd sort of established this concept of a sort of key or an ultimate experience of place and of the view towards Norfolk Bay, we then continued that rationale, which was, if we have an axial relationship, can we then run our services in that manner, the standard functions of a home? And that sort of led to an idea of burying the project in the land. So this is the sort of the point that we'd established in space. And then we ran the program because we created this concept of an axial relationship. And I'll skip through to the photos because they have more meaning, apparently. So this is the home in the context of the greater landscape. The project was very much one where we sought to furnish the landscape and to be literally and metaphorically embedded in place. And while the building has a sort of obvious heroic cantilever, as they're often referred to, that there was a desire for humility in the approach to the site. The home itself is one of the most interesting things about this project, aside from its quite protracted procurement, was that this was a project that I've done with Jim Gandy again. One of the interesting things, we've done some collaborations on the Glenorchy Art and Sculpture Park previously, but this project included this very long tie on one side and a shorter tie on the other side. So in order to prop the building, weld the steel ties together, we had to push one side up higher than the other. And it's the first time I've done something that was sort of completely asymmetrical. And one of the sort of preoccupations of our practice is creating these buildings that, in terms of the forces and the way that they come together, they're actually, there's a lot of curvature, and then when we finish, it just looks completely straight. So one of the interesting things about this project is once we had established quite a simple and stern relationship to site, we were allowed to treat the service spaces in a quite sensual and playful manner, without sort of, and that we were adding joy without diminishing the quality of stern architecture. So this is a little leather balustrade. We have a beautiful little shaft of light at the stairwell as you enter. This is the view down towards the view. So essentially we're creating a procession towards the ultimate point. One of the surprises as you walk along that corridor is this courtyard, which is relatively, was unexpected. And that's a game that we play quite a bit. And this is the ultimate arrival. We created, it's naturally ventilated, and it uses the Venturi effect and these little timber vents, which works quite well. And then we have we created convection with the entry turret. This is the triptych. Do I need to stop now? Thank you, Coach.
Okay.
And this is the little glass house, which is the retreat.
So it's a composition of elements on a broader site.
Yes.
There's an idea about engaging with what's clearly an extraordinary location. The relationships that are established, I mean, that's quite an ancient preoccupation. It has a strong lineage. In terms of the relationships between the elements, how is that activated? So that is there any kind of brief? I know you said it was an open brief, but is there any brief connection that means that those spaces between are occupied in a certain way, or that there's a procession involved in getting from one element to another?
Yeah, most definitely. It was about walking the land, and the relationship here. I think there's something very important about. Obviously, there's a visual connection, but there was also that idea of Jonathan, the client, having this opportunity to traverse the land and have a destination and appreciate the extraordinary opportunity that he has in his life to create these buildings. And in some sense, there's a very genuine sort of collaboration on the types of experiences that he wanted to have. And there was a lot of discussion between us about what that could be, and a degree of flexibility in that, in terms of it being an artful experience. He wasn't seeking to make the world's most comfortable, plush, sort of soft building. And one of the nice elements he spoke to us, he liked our concrete work, and he liked the way that he felt that had a particular comment on inhabiting a sort of wild and rugged terrain, which is Tasmania. And yeah, so certainly this is absolutely a walk down here.
And that's
when he's by himself. Yeah.
Could you give a image about the 3 different experiences that he wanted and probably worked all together?
Yeah.
Sort of with a sentence for each of the experiences.
Probably from a very, so the home itself was the beginning, the first commission. And that was essentially, we had quite, the standard brief, which is, it has 3 or 4 bedrooms, and but he did want it to be emotive and a powerful experience, an embedded experience, and one which heightened his appreciation of where he was, and the very deliberate sort of choreography of movement through that. Whether or not we would do that for a home that was inhabited every day, I'm not sure, but it seemed like the right thing to do. So he travels down here for sort of periods to refresh, to have his friends and family live here with him. I think when he said that he had his family in this house, he wanted to retreat somewhere else. So that was the glass house, which is his space for writing and reflection and dislocation. And it's about those short-term potent experiences that sort of sit in the mind, and then he can go back to his sort of hectic jet-setting lifestyle. And I know from conversations that these experiences really sit well with him. He misses it dearly, and so I think we've achieved our goal, hopefully. Yeah, I mean, this was it has a very classical sort of element to it, which, and I was pushed a little bit to do it, but it's certainly, it's a retreat. It's about forcing you to engage with your body, but also it plays quite a simple little trick, but basically it looks like a very defined space. But when you're in it, you can only appreciate the sky, and the sky is reflected in a reflection pond below you. So you sort of have a sense of the infinite section, and then you push yourself into the wall. And I think one of the things that we're interested in, and the architecture is the outcome, not these poorly judged words that I'm making, is that you sort of get a sense of the limitations of your own body. And that was very much what that was about. Yeah.